Hi again. This is the third video I'm creating in this series specifically for the wayward spouse, the spouse who had an affair. I'll go back and watch the other two if you haven't watched these. Once I get them all published, I'm going to create a playlist, which hopefully will make it a little easier for you to follow along. But this particular video, I'm going to talk about something very specific that I think it might be challenging to do. I know it was hard for my husband to do, but what I want to express to those of you who've had affairs is that it is vitally important for you to talk about the affair. Now, I know the last thing in the world that you want to do, I'm sure, is to talk about it. I know very well it creates shame and guilt in a lot of people who have had affairs. And seeing your spouse hurting as you answer their questions and as you are honest about your feelings toward the affair partner, for instance, I understand that is horrible. I could only imagine how hard it must be to do that. And so I feel for you. I understand. I have a lot of compassion for those of you who've had affairs because I know this isn't easy for you either. And I know there's some people, depending on how you were raised or how your belief system functions when it comes to how someone truly heals. I know there's a mindset out there that they're rug sweepers. If you just don't talk about it, it goes away and you just sweep it under the rug and we'll just pretend like it's okay. We'll just move on and we'll pretend like I will never do it again. I promise. Let's just not talk about it. Sure, that's a strategy, but I don't believe it's a healthy strategy, and here's why. People who've been wounded in such a way that a betrayed spouse has been wounded, and with the trauma we've experienced, what we are seeking more than anything else in the world is safety. We thought we were safe, we thought we were safe. And then out of nowhere, from the person we trusted most came a betrayal. And now we're not safe, and the questions we ask, the information we want to know is our attempt to feel safe. There is an out of control element to finding out about an affair. I described it when I found out about the affair. It was like my husband snatched a rug out from under me. I was stable. I had control of my life. I knew where I was going. I had hope for the future. I had all this stuff happening in my life that I felt really good about. And then snatch. And it was like I was laying on my back on the floor and all of the breath was out of my lungs and I was scared to death and I didn't know how to. And when I did try to stand back up, I never felt like I had good footing. I was scared to death. Like I had no safety in my life. Tomorrow wasn't guaranteed for me anymore. A future with a happy marriage was not guaranteed to me anymore. My kids' future wasn't guaranteed. Everything was up in the air. So what you're experiencing in a lot of ways with well, why did you choose them? What was it about that person that you wanted more than me? Why didn't you come talk to me? Where did you take them? What did you do? What is happening is your spouse is seeking safety. And by seeking safety, they are trying to get as much knowledge as they can get so that they can understand and move forward. When you live in a world of, I don't get it, I don't understand what is happening right now, you are stuck. And your spouse wants to move forward. And I know you want them to move forward too, right? I mean, you don't want to go through this much longer. The more you can be transparent with them, the more you can answer their questions, the safer they are going to start to feel. Because if you are willing to be transparent with them and talk to them, first of all, that's creating emotional intimacy, which is a really good step towards starting to trust you again. But if you're willing to tell them things and talk to them and answer their questions and be transparent, then what that tells your spouse is that you value them and you are willing to be transparent, so you will no longer be hiding things from them. They're looking to you to go, okay, are you going to tell me the truth? Are you going to talk to me? Because you've been hiding this from me for so long, I don't know if I can believe you. I think that wayward spouses that clam up, refuse to talk, or they do trickle truth, like they give you a little bit of information and then down the road they give you a little bit more information, that kind of thing, that keeps someone in a perpetual state of unsafe. And that makes them continuously fearful. And that means the questions are going to continue. So if you are watching this and you're a wayward spouse and you do not want to have to answer questions, or you feel like, here's another part of this, you feel like you've answered the same question 14 times, I get it. I get it. This is coming from a place of a spouse who feels unsafe. The safer your spouse feels, the less the questions are going to come, the less the need to continue to talk about the affair. Okay? So try to lean in as best you can and as you're able, because again, I know this is hard, but try to lean in and be transparent. Now listen, marriage counseling can be fantastic for this, by the way. To have a third party in the room who has no dog in the fight, who can, kind of allow that safe conversation to take place, that can be a really good time and place to allow the question and answer session to take place. So look for a marriage counselor. Lean into something like that. But the bottom line here is this is why she talks about it all the time. Or they, because I understand a wayward spouse can be male or female, right? So your spouse, whatever their gender, this is why they ask questions all the time. This is why they want to talk about it all the time. Okay? Now, if you understand this and you can lean in and be transparent, I guarantee you over time, they're going to start to back away from that because they're going to start to feel safer and safer. If you do clam up and it's just too much for you and you can't, here's a strategy. If you're at a place where you just emotionally cannot answer the questions, invite your spouse to set a scheduled time with you. Once a week, you schedule a time where the two of you sit down and you are an open book. You will allow your spouse to ask you whatever, and you pick a day and time of the week that you feel like you're going to be mentally and emotionally capable of answering these questions. And you won't be too tired, so don't do it like right before bed or something like that. And you commit to that. You commit to that. And if they don't want to ask you questions, just use that time to talk about your relationship and moving forward. Set a timer on your phone or on their phone, whichever, that is a certain time frame. I recommend no longer than 1 hour, but maybe around 30 minutes is a good time frame. And this is your time. When that timer goes off, you stop. But you're committed to each other. You know you're not going to be there for the rest of your life answering questions. There is a stop point and a beginning point. You can anticipate it. You know it's coming. You can prepare yourself. You see what I'm saying? If that is better and easier for you to do, suggest that to your wounded spouse and say, hey, I know you need to talk to me, but you're choosing to talk to me in times where I just don't have the mental and emotional capacity to answer your questions in the way that you need me to. And I want to be there for you. Can we do it every Wednesday? Can we sit down every Wednesday at, 6:00 and maybe we have dinner together, or maybe we just close the bedroom door and lock it and tell the kids to go watch a cartoon or whatever. Let's have that time for me and you. I want to have these conversations with you and I want to help you feel safe. But I also am afraid that if we have this conversation right now at my current emotional and physical and mental state, that I might say something to further upset you, and I don't want to do that. Can we please meet here? Okay, see if your spouse is willing to do that. That is okay. I believe that is very good, because then your spouse knows that you're committed. Every single week you're going to have this conversation so that your spouse can be ready for it. I actually recommend to my clients, instead of running to their husband every time, because I coach mostly women, every time they run to their spouse, every time going, hey, I have a question. So where did you take her, or what did you do with her? Write them down. Write down your questions and schedule a time every week to have these conversations. This has been working so wonderfully for my clients. They like it because sometimes they put something on their list that they want to ask their spouse. And the more they think about it, they're like, no, I really don't want to know the answer to that question. And they take it off the list because in the spur of the moment, they wanted to ask, but then once the time came, they didn't. This is what your spouse is looking for. They just want to feel safe. They just want to feel safe with the person that's supposed to keep them safe. That's what our spouse is supposed to do. We're supposed to have each other's backs. And they don't think that you do anymore. So help them know that you've got their back, that you are willing to lean into this. Be patient, listen, understand that what they need is safety, and you can actually help give it to them.